At this point, we've seen three different properties. We've seen the product property, which says that if I have a product of two powers with the same base, like a to the m times a to the n, product means multiply. So these are two powers that are multiplied with the same base of a. Then that means we add the exponents. We've also seen the quotient property. Quotient means to divide. So if I have two powers with the same base, here we have the same base of a and they are being divided, then we can subtract the exponents, the top exponent minus the bottom exponent. And finally, the last property that we've seen so far is the zero product property. And what this property says is if I have some base to the power of 0, it is always equal to the number 1. So I want to use all of these properties today. Simplify each expression by using the expanded form and the property. Let's start by using the expanded form to simplify for this one. So I'm going to keep track of what I'm looking at here. I usually want to group things with the same base or same type of base together first. So I see 5 and negative 6, they're both numbers. So I'm going to group that together. I also want to group together variables that have the same base here. So I see x to the 0 and x to the 4th. And then I also see z to the 5th and z. So if I just see z, I want to recognize there's an invisible exponent there. There's an invisible 1, so we're going to write that down because that's going to tell me how many times its repeated multiplication is. So let's start rewriting it. First of all, I can do this pretty easily. 5 times negative 6 is just negative 30. But if I'm going to do expanded form, this is where I'm going to write it all out. X to the 0 means 0 x's. This is just equal to 1. X to the 4 means 4 x's being multiplied together. Z to the 5th means 5 z's. And then z to the 1st means only 1 z. So then at this point, I can pretty much write my answer. I have negative 30 times how many x's are being multiplied here? There are 4, so that's x to the 4. And then similarly for the z's, how many z's do I see? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that's z to the 6th power. And this is my answer that I found by expanding it all out. Now let's do something similar for the other method. The other method is to use these properties. Use the product, quotient, and zero property to simplify. So I'm going to start it off the same way. I'm going to group things together. I'm going to group together 5 and negative 6 the same way. In fact, I can kind of just copy what I have here. X to the 0, x to the 4th, z to the 5th, and z to the 1st. So if I'm going to use the properties, I don't really need it for the first value here. I'm still going to get negative 30. But here, I can see that this is all multiplication. When the values are next to each other, this is all multiplication. So I want to use the product property. So I'm going to add the 0 and 4 here. And similarly for z to the 5th and z to the 1st, I'm going to add these because they're all being multiplied. And then that's going to help me get my final answer of negative 30 times x to the 0 plus 4 is 4. 5 plus 1 is 6. So whatever answer I get on this side should be the same as the answer I get on the other. Now let's look at one where we may also need to use the quotient property. Let's start by again using the expanded form to simplify. I'm going to start by writing things that have the numerical base first. 23 to the 0 and then 12. And then I can go ahead and just start expanding it out. So this is x to the 3rd, so that's 3 x's on the top. And then it says x to the 0 on the bottom. So that means I'm not going to put any x's at the bottom. For the y's, I have y to the 5th, so that's 5y's. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all multiplied together. And on the bottom, we have y cubed, so that's 3y's on the bottom. So I want to see if there's something that's on the top and the bottom that I can cross out, because if there's something that's the same on the top and the bottom, it's going to reduce to 1. So I see these y's on the top and the bottom, these, and those are going to reduce to 1. I also see 23 to the 0, which is also equal to 1. And at this point, I think I've seen everything that has a 0 power and everything that is going to reduce to 1. So I can go ahead and now write what I'm left with to help me write my answer. So on the top, I have 3 x's multiplied together, so that's x to the 3rd. I also have 2 y's multiplied together here, so that's y squared. And then all that's left on the bottom is that 12. So this is doing it by using the expanded form to simplify. Now on the other side, we're going to do it by using the properties. So similar to what I did on the other side, I'm going to sort of group things together that have the same base. So here, or a similar base, I have 23 to the 0 and 12. I could actually immediately write for 23 to the 0, 1, and then 12 on the bottom. And then I see x cubed, or x to the 3rd, and x to the 0 have the same base. I also see that it's a quotient. They're being divided. So I'm going to write on the top their exponents being subtracted because it's a quotient. So I'm using the quotient property. Something similar is happening for the y's here. It's a quotient, so I'm going to also subtract the exponents so that it's the top exponent minus the bottom. So I'm going to continue to simplify, and I end up on the top with, well, if I have 1 here, I don't really need to write it. It's an invisible coefficient. X to the 3 minus 0 is just the 3rd power. Y to the 5 minus 3 is going to give me y squared. And then again, I have just that 12 on the bottom. And I see that the answers on both sides are the same. So we should always get the same answer on the left and the right, but our work should look different.